name is Shahab Siddiqui, and I'm one of the founding partners at the advisory firm Tabad Lab. I'm a director for human capital, which means that everything that we do on education and in health is something that me and my team work on. This conversation on vaccines is something that it relates to something that me and my team have been working on for the past year. Working closely with government. So I'm really excited to have these conversations with you. It's very relevant, and you will have noticed that when you chose to join this session, um, your expectations may have been different. You may have noticed that I am not Fasi Zaka, and maybe that's may come as a surprise to some of you. Fasi, unfortunately, has been unwell, and we wish him well, and he couldn't be here. So we wish him all the best and a speedy recovery. So before we get started, I wanted to call Irfana Yasser onto the stage. Irfana is one of our moderators. All right, and our other panelist is Dr. Ifat Zafar. She's joining us from Karachi. Hopefully, she can hear us and will be able to join the conversation online. And you'll notice that Dr. Amna Khan's name is there. Dr. Amna Khan will join us as this conversation gets going, and then we'll take the conversation as we take the conversation forward. Before I begin the conversation, I'm going to do a quick introduction of the panelists. I'm going to begin with Irfana. Irfana Yasser is a very esteemed and journalist. She is now employed at the BBC World Service. Before that, she's been for many years was part of BBC Urdu, and has a lot of experience with working with misinformation online and with looking at fake news, as we now call it, and especially as it relates to health issues. Most recently, she was very involved with the BBC during the COVID-19 pandemic in developing content to counter misinformation. So it was great to have Irfana as part of this conversation. I'm sure there's lots of stories that we're going to hear from her. Also joining us is Dr. Ifat Zafar. Dr. Ifat is one of the co-founders of Sehat Kahani. Sehat Kahani is a telemedicine platform that develops that works across the country and connects communities that don't have access to high-quality healthcare with doctors and healthcare professionals. And she's also a medical professional by trade. So we're going to have a lot more. She's going to be one of the doctors on the panel, and finally, we will soon be joined by hopefully Dr. Amna Khan. She's the country director for Jabaigo. Dr. Amna Khan has over 2 decades of experience of public policy. She was very much been involved with vaccine rollout for advising governments on vaccine rollout, and was very much involved in the more recent rollout of the HPV vaccine. So, before I get to our panelists, I wanted to set the stage and kind of understand कि हम ये conversation क्यों कर रहे हैं. I have a request. Is it all right if we have this conversation in both English and Urdu? Is everybody comfortable with that? Okay, perfect. So now the stories can be a little more juicier now when we can talk in Urdu. Acha, so basically, why are we talking about this? आप सब ने नोटिस किया होगा कि the conversation on vaccines is now a global conversation. ठीक है. हुआ ये कि more recently we've seen कि a lot of authorities have been, the known authorities have been very skeptical about, very openly skeptical about vaccines. That has led to a lot of misinformation and disinformation happening, and parents, there's been a lot of confusion among parents and communities कि जी vaccine ठीक है कि नहीं है. पहली चीज. एक ये रियलिटी है. दूसरी रियलिटी ये है कि पिछले साल 14.1 million children around the world were not vaccinated, that were supposed to be vaccinated and they were not vaccinated. So it's a global problem, it's not just a Pakistan problem. पाकिस्तान में हमारा अंदाज़ा है कि 5 से 7 लाख बच्चे जो हैं जिनको पिछले साल वैक्सीनेट होना चाहिए था वो वैक्सीनेट नहीं हुए. ये वो बच्चे हैं जो 2 साल से कम उम्र के हैं जिनको शुरू के जो टीके लगने होते हैं वो लगते हैं. اچھی بات یہ ہے, پازیٹیو نیوز یہ ہے کہ پاکستان کی اوور آل ویکسینیشن کی کوریج جو ہے فار دوز چلڈرن اسٹینڈز ایٹ 87%. سو 87% کے بچوں کو حفاظتی ٹیکے لگتے ہیں پاکستان میں. مگر جب ہم 87% کو غور سے دیکھیں تو وہ جو جن کو نہیں لگتے وہ بہت کانسنٹریٹڈ ہیں خاص حصوں میں ملک کے, جہاں پر بالکل بہت زیادہ ڈینائل بھی ہے اور مس انفارمیشن بھی ہے. ہم نے یہ بھی رجحان دیکھا اس سال ود ایچ پی وی ویکسین کی رول آؤٹ کے ساتھ, جب ہم بڑی بچیوں کی ویکسین کی رول آؤٹ ہوا, اور ہم اس کے اوپر ذرا بات بھی کریں گے, کہ وہ طبقے جہاں پر نارملی اپنے بچوں کو ویکسینیٹ کراتے ہیں وہاں پر بھی نئے قسم کے فیئرز جو ہیں وہ رائز ہوئے, اور ان فیئرز کے اوپر کیپٹلائز کر کے سوشل میڈیا پہ اور جگہوں پر بہت ساری مس انفارمیشن پھیلی, جس کی وجہ سے ہم نے دیکھا کہ بچیوں نے اسکول جانا چھوڑ دیا. بہت سے پرائیویٹ اسکولز جن کو پش کیا جا رہا تھا کہ آپ بچوں کو ویکسینیٹ کریں, انہوں نے اسکولوں کو چھٹیاں دے دیں, بند کر دیا. والدین نے بچوں کو اسکول بھیجنا چھوڑ دیا. ان روم فل آف اسکول ٹیچرز, آئی تھنک دیٹس اے ڈیزاسٹرس تھنگ فار اٹ ٹو ہیپن, کہ ایک اچھا کام کرنے جائیں اور اس میں مسئلہ ہو جائے. سو وی گونا ٹاک اباؤٹ سم آف دیٹ ایز ویل. So let's begin by talking about misinformation, and then we'll talk about vaccines and the science, and we'll talk to Rifat, and then we'll talk to Dr. Amna Khan about this. But let's talk about misinformation and social media first. Irfana, misinformation, vaccine denial, anti-vax behavior, all of these things have been around for a bit, but now they seem to have been taking on a new life of their own, especially in this COVID and post-COVID period. How have you seen this kind of evolve and how manifest both in Pakistan and globally?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Shahab. So when we talk about pandemic, and recently we have seen COVID-19 is the biggest pandemic, there is an infodemic as well. So whenever there is a pandemic, there is an infodemic as well. And while we were working like during the COVID time, there was a lot of misinformation on social media. And at that time, I think because it was such a huge pandemic, or because like I'm working in media since 20 years, but I haven't seen such a big pandemic in my journalist career before this. So there was a huge challenge for us being working in the newsroom and telling the people the true story while debunking misinformation as well. So I think for me, whenever there is a pandemic and then there is an infodemic as well, for me it's always to see that from where the misinformation is coming, and then what are the best ways to debunk it. One thing is communication. Whenever we see there is a big pandemic and how the governments are ready to debunk it or to convey their messages, there is a lot of gap in communication. کیونکہ جب ہم گورنمنٹ کے ایڈس دیکھتے ہیں ٹی وی کے اوپر تو دے آر مور لائک پروموشنلس, اس میں ہمیں وہ والا حصہ نظر نہیں آتا جہاں پہ ہم لوگوں کو کنونس کر رہے ہیں. سو وہاں پر بھی میڈیا کا رول تھوڑا سا زیادہ ہو جاتا ہے کہ ہاؤ وی ہیو ٹو ٹیل دا اسٹوریز, جس میں ہم نہ صرف لوگوں کو کنونس کر رہے ہیں بلکہ لوگوں کو مس انفارمیشن کو ڈی بنک بھی کر رہے ہیں. So I do remember کہ اس وقت جب ہم سب لوگ in the newsroom, whenever there is a big news, سب meetings ہوتی ہیں, you all sit together, we thought کیوں نہ ہم ایک کووڈ بلیٹن کریں. So we start doing a COVID bulletin every day. اور اس کووڈ بلیٹن کا پرپس یہ تھا کہ ہم لوگوں کو سنیں اور then we respond. So what we used to do, like we post a question on social media, اور ہم لوگوں کو کہتے تھے کہ آپ ہمیں بتائیں کہ آپ کے ذہن میں کیا مسکنسیپشنس ہیں اور آپ اس کا جواب کیا چاہتے ہیں. سو ہم نے آڈینس کے ساتھ کونیکٹ کرنا شروع کر دیا, جو کہ آئی واز لائک فار دیٹ واز مے بی دا بگیسٹ رول گورنمنٹ شوڈ پلے. گورنمنٹ کو لوگوں سے بات کرنی تھی, لیکن میڈیا نے پھر اپنا رول اس طرح پلے کیا کہ ہم نے آڈینس کے ساتھ کونیکٹ کیا, ان کے کویشچنس لے, اور اس کے بعد ود دی ہیلپ آف ایکسپرٹس ہم نے ان کویشچنس کا آنسرز دینا شروع کیا. اور then that was on all social media platforms, like on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok, everywhere they were.
اور کوئی سوری میں آپ کی بات کر رہا ہوں, بٹ کوئی اسپیسیفک آپ کو یاد ہیں مس انفارمیشن کی کوئی خبریں یا کچھ دیٹ یو ہیڈ ٹو گو اینڈ کاؤنٹر؟
یا سو آئی تھنک اس کے لیے میرے پاس ریسنٹ ایگزامپل ہے. اگر ہم HPV ویکسین کی بات کریں تو مے بی بہت سارے لوگوں نے دیکھی ہوگی. دیر واز اے ویڈیو دیٹ وینٹ آن سوشل میڈیا وائرل. وہ ویڈیو تھی کشمیر کی, اور اس میں بہت ساری بچیاں وہ فینٹ ہو رہی تھیں. دیٹ واز این اولڈ ون. اور پھر جب اور بہت ساری جگہوں پہ آپ کو وہ نظر بھی آ رہی تھی, اور دیر واز لائک وہ دیکھیں یہ اگر ویکسین کروائیں گے تو آپ کی بچیوں کے ساتھ یہ ہوگی. اگین دین دیر واز اے رول فار دا میڈیا. وہاں پر آتا ہے کہ میڈیا اس کو کیسے ڈیبنک کرا. اینڈ نو دیر از اے ویریفیکیشن سسٹم, دیر از اے فیکٹ چیکنگ سسٹم. اور جب ہم نے اس کو فیکٹ چیک کیا تو یہ پتہ لگا کہ اٹس این اولڈ ویڈیو. اور وہ ویڈیو بھی تھی کہ جس میں دیر واز اے ٹیئر گیس, اور اس کی وجہ سے بچیاں جو تھیں وہ فینٹ ہو رہی تھی. دین یو ہاؤ وڈ ڈی بنک اٹ. اور پھر اس کے بعد جو ریئل اسٹوری آپ نے لوگوں کو بتائی, اور آئی تھنک دیٹس دا بگیسٹ ایگزامپل جو کہ بہت ریسنٹ بھی ہے, اور جہاں پہ میڈیا نے اپنا رول پلے کیا. اور اس ویڈیو کی وجہ سے دین گورنمنٹ گیٹ ایکٹیو. گورنمنٹ کو بھی لگا کہ نہیں, اب ہمیں بھی ایکٹیو ہونا ہے اور ہمیں بتانا ہے کہ یہ مس انفارمیشن جو پھیلائی جا رہی ہے اس کی وجہ یہ نہیں ہے. اینڈ دین آئی تھنک وی آل ہیو سین دا منسٹر مصطفیٰ کمال. ہی واز دیئر ان دا پریس کانفرنس ود ہز ڈاٹر, اور اس سے ایک بہت زبردست میسج کیا. اور لوگوں کے اندر ایک چیز ایک بہت آئی تھنک مجھے لگتا ہے کہ اگر گورنمنٹ یا ہماری جو اسٹیٹس ہیں وہ شاید ایکٹ کرتی ہیں جب کچھ ہو جاتا ہے. سو مے بی اگر وہ ایکٹ کریں کچھ ہونے سے پہلے تو وہ زیادہ ہمارے لیے بہتر ہو جائے گا. بٹ ان اینی ویز اس کے بعد وہ پھر بہت کمپین کو کیا گیا, اور دین ہی واز آن دا سوشل میڈیا ود ہز ڈاٹر. سو دیٹ واز دا بیسٹ اسٹریٹجی فرام دا گورنمنٹ اور فرام دا اسٹیٹ ایز ویل. سو آئی تھنک اس طرح کے کیسز میں میڈیا اینڈ گورنمنٹ دونوں کو مل کر کام کرنے کی ضرورت ہے. دین وی کین ایبل ٹو ڈو دس.
That's I think that connecting یہ جو آپ نے ٹرسٹ والی آخر میں بات کی نا about the minister, that's the thing, right? Because essentially کیا ہے, ایک اشتہار کیا کہہ رہا ہے کہ دیکھیں دو چیزوں کو نا ہمیں بیس لائن ماننا پڑے گا. والدین, سب والدین اپنے بچوں سے پیار کرتے ہیں. وہ اگر ویکسینیٹ نہیں کرانا چاہ رہے تو اس کا یہ مطلب نہیں ہے کہ وہ اپنے بچے کا برا چاہ رہے ہیں. وہ یہ چاہ رہے ہیں کہ ہم کسی برائی سے اس کو روک رہے ہیں. تو جب ہم ان سے جس طرح سے آپ نے کہا کہ ایک اشتہار لگا کے کہہ دیتے ہیں نا کہ ایسا کریں یا ایسا سنیں یا سوچیں, تو دیٹ may not be enough. We have to show. And I think that what the minister did کہ وہ بھی اپنی بچی سے پیار کرتے ہیں, اور انہوں نے کر کے دکھایا کہ میں نے اپنی بچی کو اگر ویکسینیٹ کر سکتا ہوں تو دیٹ وہ جو گیپ ہے نا کہنے والے اور کرنے والے کا, وہ کافی حد تک برج ہوا. اینڈ آئی تھنک ڈیولپنگ ٹرسٹ از ون آف دوز, بیکاز وی ڈڈ سے دا ٹرسٹ ڈیفیسٹ, رائٹ? دیٹس واٹ دا پینل از کالڈ. اینڈ اف آئی ڈو وی ہیو رفت, کین آئی kind of switch quickly to Rifat on this, in that can we please have Rifat? Because Rifat, if you can hear me, one of the things that we're seeing is کہ ایک تو vaccine and vaccine culture کی distrust ہے, but ایک general system کے اندر health service delivery کی بھی ایک trust deficit ہمیں نظر آتا ہے. سرکاری ہسپتال میں نہیں جائیں گے, private ہسپتال میں جائیں گے, فلانے ڈاکٹر کے پاس جائیں گے نہیں, and it's understandable because people like it's a welfare thing, so people want to kind of go to the best thing, especially when it's for their children. So wo jo trust building hai, how much of the systems, the lack of trust in the larger healthcare system kind of manifests in how vaccine behavior is shaped, in how you've noticed working with communities, especially less urban communities? If you can hear us, Ifat. I think Ifat is muted. Ifat, you may be muted. Ifat, we can't hear you. I think you're muted. No, we see it. Your mic is muted on your system. Can we? All right, we're going to come back to Ifat in a second. Let's just continue. We're going to come back to Ifat in a second while we figure out what happened, what we can do with the audio. So the thing to figure out, آپ نے ٹرسٹ کی بات کی, تو ہم نے ایک اور چیز جو دیکھی ہے more recently globally ہم نے دیکھی ہے, and I wanted to talk to Dr. Amna Khan about this as well, and we will when she's here. جب ہم ایک امریکہ کے صدر کو سنتے ہیں کہ وہ کہہ رہا ہے کہ شاید ہم بلیچ لیں تو باہر سے اگر ختم ہو سکتا ہے وائرس تو شاید ہمیں کوئی بلیچ چاہیے جسم کے اندر کی بھی. ناؤ دس کائنڈ آف اسٹیٹمنٹ از ناٹ سائنس, رائٹ. اینڈ ہم نے ایک نوٹس کیا ہے کہ پیپل ان پوزیشنز آف اتھارٹی, جہاں سے ہم جن کو پہلے ٹرسٹ کرتے تھے ان کی بات کو لیتے تھے اور وہ سائنس کی بات کرتے تھے, a lot of those conversations have become very casual. And people are not able to distinguish between, abhi wo humne dekha recently in the US, the health minister is saying کہ وہ Tylenol, Panadol جو ہمارے ہوتی ہے پیراسیٹامول, it may cause autism, ان ساری کمیونٹی جو ہے وہ اس سے پریشان ہو رہی ہے. یہ جو ایروژن ہے نا وہ آف اتھارٹی جو ہمیں نظر آتی ہے مین اسٹریم پہ, how does it make your job harder as the
Yeah.
media?
So I think if we talk about Trump, جب بھی when you're working in the media as well, اور ٹرمپ کی جو statements ہوتی ہیں وہ that's the biggest news for us, right? Even around the world, جس دن ٹرمپ کی کوئی statement ہوگی آپ کو سب نیوز پیپرس پہ سب جگہ پہ وہی نظر آئیں گے. اور when his statements are viral اور پھر آپ کو اس کو ڈیبنک کرنا ہے, that's the most challenging چیز ہے. ابھی جو ریسنٹ ہوا جب ٹرمپ نے یہ کہا اس کے بعد we like for us again we have to tell the real stories to people as well. اور ہمارے لیے اتنا چیلنجنگ تھا کہ now it's all over, اور بہت سارے لوگ اتنی فالوئنگ ہے ٹرمپ کی, اور بہت سارے لوگ یہ سیلیبریٹیز کے منہ سے جب بھی کچھ ایسی چیز نکلتی ہے لوگ زیادہ
بالکل ایسا.
اٹس آلویز ایون if you talk in پاکستان, اگر آپ سیلیبریٹیز سے کچھ سنتے ہیں, انفلوئنسر سے کچھ سنتے ہیں تو یو فیل کہ یہ صحیح کہہ رہا ہوگا نا, بجائے اس کے کہ دیکھیں کہ اس میں فیکٹس کتنے ہیں. تب ہم نے یہ کیا کہ اس کے بعد وی ہیو ڈن اے لاٹ آف ایکسپلینرس بیکاز آئی ورک فار دا BBC ورلڈ سروس, سو آئی ناؤ ہیئر آئی ایم ٹاکنگ اباؤٹ آل اوور دا ورلڈ کہ ڈفرینٹ ریجنس کے اندر ہم نے اس اسٹوری کے اراؤنڈ ڈفرینٹ ایکسپلینرس کیے کہ آپ نے یہ بات جو ہے وہ ایسے نہیں ہے, اور اس کو آپ نے اس کو سائنس, بیکاز اٹس اباؤٹ سائنس, دین یو گو ٹو ڈاکٹرز, یو گو ٹو ایکسپرٹس, اور ان کی باتوں کو لے کر آپ نے ایکسپلینر بنایا, اور دین وی ٹیل دا آڈینس کہ جو بات ٹرمپ کہہ رہے ہیں وہ ایسے نہیں ہے. سو اٹس آلویز ہارڈ. ایک طرف ہمارے پاس مس انفارمیشن ہوتی ہے ان دی فارم آف ویڈیوز یا فوٹوز, اس کو ڈیبنک کرنا, اور پھر جب کوئی بہت بڑی سیلیبریٹی جو ہے وہ اس طرح کی بات کر دے اور اس کے اراؤنڈ کانٹینٹ کریٹ کرنا, دیٹس اے ویری چیلنجنگ. بٹ آئی تھنک ہیئر کمز دا رول آف میڈیا ایز ویل, کہ میڈیا کو اپنی رسپانسبلٹی, کیونکہ ہم پبلک انٹرسٹ کے لیے بھی, اب ناؤ دیر از اے نیو ٹرم ایز ویل کہ جرنلزم از اے پبلک انٹرسٹ تھنگ ایز ویل, سو یو ڈو اے لاٹ آف تھنگس فار دا پبلک, رائٹ. سو پبلک انٹرسٹ کے لیے پھر آپ نے وہ بہت ساری جو کانٹینٹ ہے وہ کریٹ کرنا ہوتا ہے تاکہ جو ویکسین کے اراؤنڈ مس انفارمیشن یا اس طرح کی چیزیں پھیل رہی ہیں وہ آپ اس کو کم کر سکیں.
So, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Amna Khan is here. Thank you very much for joining us, ma'am. We were just, we'll let you settle in, but we were just, to give you a quick recap, we've just started, we've spoken about how recently on social media there's been a lot of misinformation, and Irfana was telling us that as a journalist it's become really hard to, because of globally people in positions of authority are also not now saying very irresponsible things about pseudoscience and things like that, and it's become very hard for the media to kind of distinguish between fact and fiction, follow the science or follow the statement coming out of the maybe the minister in the US who's talking about autism and things like that. So we were just covering some of that, and then we also recently saw with the HPV rollout is a lot of these fake videos that went viral on social media that had to be debunked. But the positive role that the minister played by his own daughter and getting that trust built there. As we figure out what we're with the connectivity thing with Ifat, I would pull you in quickly into the conversation and basically ask you, a lot of the trust part is in what is required, but jo lack of trust has sometimes, it is less with vaccines and more with the healthcare system, because people are not, parents are not maybe able to distinguish between the two. So there might be a trust within the larger healthcare system, with the hospitals, with the healthcare delivery, that kind of also manifests in vaccine denial or lack of confidence in vaccines. How does one such as yourself, who looks at all the large systems, can get to build those trust up in within systems and within communities?
So thank you very much. Let me just first explain that we just talked about trust, right? So in terms of vaccine hesitancy, I think it is structured by a complex play of two forces. One, in my 20 years of experience, is the trust, and the other is the mistrust. And both of them are rooted in fact, the lack of one access to evidence-based information, and the other is your own self-seeking behavior to seek the evidence-based information. And let me explain you first these two forces, and then we can talk about
Absolutely.
how we can do something that will build their trust back. So on the side of the trust, we know that these communities which are closely knit, the rural areas or the poor urban communities, they have a natural tendency to turn towards the elderly in the family or the religious leader or anyone in the community who they see as their leader. You know, that is a natural tendency that they do, regardless whether they have any signs or not. And even at times they look at their neighbors to give them guidance. And the opinions of these influencers, they carry a lot of weightage, even like I said earlier, even if they do not have any science with them, but their guidance is so very important to them. So if any of these influential figure, they talk skeptical about a vaccine, the whole house will follow what they are saying. Not because they not care about their child or do not want that intervention, but because of the fact that they have a trust on this resource. So, like for any religious leader, they may come up and say that there is a lot of side effects to this vaccination, or maybe it is not Islamic, so on and so forth. But because they are a trusted figure, they claim would become something that they need to follow. On the other side is a mistrust. So the mistrust is basically when the communities do not have clear, concise, accurate, adequate, and those messages that are tailored into the local languages and that they are contextualized into the local system, and they are very culturally sensitive. So when there is a lack of such things and how the vaccine is effective, should they wait? So these open doors for the rumors, the exaggerated fears, you can say, so on and so forth. So this creates a mistrust. And then if they go to a healthcare provider, which is one, maybe not herself informed of, does not have that kind of a knowledge, or if they have the knowledge, then they're not able to deliver it in the manner which is, comforting for the parents or the children, like a empathetic counseling. They are not skilled to do that. So they might give a very elaborated technical knowledge, but not something that they really want to hear in their own language. So again, with this, what amplifies it is the social media that we have talked about. When influencers speak about these things, which they do not have any science as well, but because they are influencers, then the community automatically begins to, this mistrust deepens as well. And then our messages, again, I would say they are not short, they are not simple, they are not of the language that people can understand. So that it becomes difficult for them to compete with already misinformation that is circulating. Our health system are sometimes, most of the times, are inconsistent. So, if I go and there is shortage of vaccine, there's a shortage of healthcare staff, there is a shortage of skills to deliver the right information, this adds to the mistrust as well. So I think if we really, really want to ensure there is less vaccine hesitancy and there is more acceptance, then we need to ensure that these messengers, the trusted messengers, have the right messages. We make and we tailor those messages. The ministry should do that. The government should do that. All the NGOs that are working together define a structured message for them, and then at the same time strengthen our healthcare system. And of course, the platforms where this communication goes on. So this is, I think, we need to understand the trust and the mistrust forces, because it's not just one factor that leads to the vaccine hesitancy, and then address them accordingly.
You've given us a lot to unpack, and we'll come to some of these one by one.
Sure.
But I think we have Dr. Ifat with us. Ifat, can you hear us? Can we get Ifat's audio, please? Uh,
Can you hear me now?
yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Finally. All right. So,
Good.
so
Fine.
I wanted to kind of switch. One of the things that was spoken about here, I'm going to come to you. So you can answer the earlier question about building trust in systems as well. But one of the things that Dr. Amna Khan talked about is something that you work on a lot with the training of the people that are on your platform, the healthcare professionals are on your platform, is the curating of the experience that the healthcare provider provides to the end customer, in which case we may be the child, but उनका जो उनकी agency represent करता है, उनका parent, वो जो trust build करने के लिए interface है, what has your experience been in kind of training healthcare professionals, especially आपके case में तो remotely connect करने के अंदर, for things like this in building trust for systems through which vaccine delivery or other pediatric services could be delivered?
Yeah. I think, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. Vaccines have been a major challenge in a country like Pakistan. Whether you talk about COVID vaccine or the very recent HPV vaccine for girls or polio vaccine, and that's why we don't see these diseases going away. Unfortunately, even today, Pakistan is one of those leading countries where polio still prevails, despite most of the world has been polio free now for years. And vaccine distrust obviously becomes a major factor in this area. I think one of the key reasons I believe mistrust has propagated so far is because in the last few decades, we have seen political scenarios and vaccinations being used for political scenarios. So I think that has been a major gap or a major deficit, and I think a wrong miscalculation from a political scenario where vaccines or vaccine setups were used to identify, terrorist groups or terrorism, and I think that is a major factor, especially since we very actively work in the KP region in AJK, having used political reasons during vaccine campaigns actually becomes a major reason for the distrust. This is one reason. Then, of course, we have religious reasons. But I think what we have tried to do, especially during COVID, something that we actively did was, for us, our presence is really actively present in communities. We have created nurse-led clinics in remote areas, in community settings. And one thing that we identified, particularly during COVID, was that you need a champion from the community who the community fully trusts. It can be a nurse, it can be a coordinator, and their role essentially becomes going door to door, educating people about the importance of this vaccine. But doesn't stop there. This community health worker, midwife, or nurse is one component. But in our case, you also had to talk to other really important elements of a community. For example, the Maulvi of a mosque. He holds a really important figure in a community, and people often look up to his opinion. If he's saying something positively, people will listen to it. If he's not, or if he shows even slight doubt in his opinion, then people tend to defer, or people tend to have their doubts. Similarly, in every community, we've seen that there are certain women and men, majorly of the older age group, people who are like in their 50s, 60s, who hold a certain aura or a certain presence in a community, who can either, talk for vaccination or they can talk against it. So they are also very important advocates, and it's really important to see if they are on the right side of the conversation. And if they are with you, then in my opinion, it becomes easier to gather other people. But if they are not on your side, then at times it becomes really challenging. So I think really creating community champions from the communities. Also, I think digital media is very important. We have a digital platform in the form of a mobile app, but also social media presence. So it becomes really important to propagate the right kind of information. But there, I think when you look at the influencers, you all must have noticed there's a wide variety of opinion on social media. So there are going to be people who talk for a vaccination, but we've also seen so many instances of people talking absolutely against a vaccine, and we all saw this during the HPV drive that recently happened. My daughter is of the same age group, and I was following that drive very, closely. But I think a really strong move that happened from the health minister, Mr. Kamal, where he brought in his own, daughter. I think that was a courageous move and a move that really changed the narrative over just 24 or 48 hours. People started to trust. So I think building digital stories which are very personal, which are very close to home, which are very authentic, I think that's what is needed. Otherwise, we all keep on talking about कि वैक्सीन करानी चाहिए, क्यों जरूरी है. But having that personal touch or that personal connection, I feel really plays it strong.
Thank you. So, Dr. Amna Khan, I'll come back to you with this and just pivoting back from this, right? The we got it right with HPV eventually, right? But it didn't start off as smoothly as it should have. And there was, and the way, and people should be commended for the way that they adjusted and pushed through, didn't cow down, didn't let the pressure get to them. And amazing thousands of community workers continue to go out in the streets, go door to door, go to schools and push for it. Can you please share with the people here the story of how it did eventually come good and Alhamdulillah we were able to vaccinate a lot of girls?
So thank you so much. It's a very important question, and I think a beautiful one as well. So initially, when we started with this in the beginning, the rollout of the vaccine, which was specifically for a cohort age between 19 to 14, I think we at the FTI, EPI, and all the NGOs did a marvelous job initially. But I think one of the major factors in HPV vaccine was one of the sensitivity attached to it, the age group, and at the same time, it was not a familiar word to the people. We know measles, we have known khasra, so on and so forth, from the grandparents to the parents and all. So this cervical cancer in HPV was like something that was just sent to them that day, although there was a lot of work going on. So basically, the hurdles that we faced were because of this low awareness among the people, not knowing about and not understanding why this vaccine is so important for this age group. So this was something. And at the same time, the Department of Health and the Education Department, they were also figuring out how to make such messages which are comfortable for the parents and the students to understand. So there was quite you can say hesitancy initially, but the game changed, like you said earlier, when the federal minister Mustafa Kamal, he brought his daughter in front of the press and he got her vaccinated in that event. So it was something that was so personalized. People thought that, oh, if these leaders can do that to their child, it is beneficial for us. So science was not something that pushed them to adapt this. It was that human touch, that was attached to it, and people could relate. Yes, if he wants to save his daughter, then I better save my daughter as well. So, and then we started at the national level understanding using the AI and different other mediums, that what are the concerns of the people, why are they actually not doing it. And based on that, then we completely changed our strategy and the messages as well. And you could see that from the social media, whatever the messages were, there were local experts coming in, and the trusted messengers were also brought in the social media, like Dr. Saiba was saying, and probably I would say, those trusted messengers, when science came out from a very simple language from them, then it became a moment that, yes, this is the real truth as well. And then all the NGOs, with the support of the government, we started working more in the education department, and the outreach also increased as well, with the true, honest messages, but with care and compassion. That was we understood, it's not that we started talking, we started to listen to them as well. What is their real concern? And then responding accordingly. We changed our strategy. We went more into the schools. We talked more with the teachers. We educated them through videos and through meetings, Zoom meetings, and at the same time in person. We uplifted their knowledge, and then they started talking to the parents through the parent-teacher meetings as well. Likewise, in the community, we involved the CSOs. We understood the fathers are the ones who are more hesitant. So our strategy changed to how to involve them more. So then you can see that there was a drastic increase and a pull in the trends as well.
Can you just talk about a bit about the numbers of I know we can't have full numbers, but what percentage of the targets were we eventually able to get to? I hear more than 70%.
It was more than 70%. And although we were to hit 90%, but it is an immense achievement. Even in the countries, we are the 150th country. In other countries where there was less hesitancy, they were not able to achieve this number. So it's a big credit goes to of course, the Department of Health, national level, FDI, the NGOs and the partners that were working. I think we need to applaud us. Each one specifically, we are working in a community that in Pakistan, we would say that we are 4 countries, different countries, because we have a diversified culture. Our norms are very different from each province. The literacy rate is different. We have different, ethnic groups and all. So doing that in this country, which is like a 4 country in itself, is a huge achievement.
So, if it, as we move on, now we haven't done this in KP, we haven't done this in Balochistan yet. As we go to the rest of the country, one of the themes for the 2 days here at the School of Tomorrow this year is how to work with AI. A lot of those conversations tend to be about the interface between people and AI. But there's a role for artificial intelligence in helping systems perform better, helping the department mobilize better, how for it to connect with community better. I mean, yes, there can be debunking bots for parents to go and ask questions about the vaccine, but uske alawa bhi, how do we use AI to improve our service delivery and roll out because you work in technology and health, and you guys use AI all the time. So what can we learn there for Balochistan and for KP as we go on to the next phase of our rollout?
Yeah, I think this is such an interesting question and something which holds a lot of relevance. While AI can be used for information giving and for preventive care messaging and all of that, but I think a really important role that I think AI can strongly play, particularly when you talk about vaccines, is twofold. AI has the capability to detect where most of the negative noise or negative conversations or negative social media, uploads are happening. So AI can really identify, okay, where are the clusters where there's the most negativity around vaccines. And similarly, it has the capability to identify which areas or which geographies actually have the most positive conversation or most successful campaigns happening in terms of vaccine delivery. I think that's the first and foremost area where I feel, especially given the crisis that we are stuck with, which is lack of trust in terms of AI, in terms of vaccines, that AI can really help identify clusters of geographies where the conversation is still very negative. And I think special measures can actually be taken by the government to create more community building, more community awareness in those areas. I think this is one really strong role that AI can play. The second role that AI can play is we do have a lot of, so we run a digital healthcare organization, but I think every hospital, every healthcare has some kind of digital EMR available now. AI actually has the capability to fully identify and fully accumulate or kind of gather and ultimately analyze all that data, that okay, which areas or which healthcare facilities have the most number of children, for example, visiting, which age group is visiting these healthcare facilities the most, what are the most relevant vaccines for these particular age groups, and then sending them relevant information. I think that's one area that I feel AI can also help very strongly.
Can I just add one more
Yes.
thing? And like rightly said by Dr. Ifat, one of the other area where AI can support is to find out why they're not having a trust on the information. That is also one where you find out where the rumors are most, which age group is more, where geography is more, and then why they are not trusting the information is something also that AI can inform us. And because they are so good at making, the answers according to the personal needs, it feels so personal that you can use that to make those personal messages as well. And then, it becomes more believable and more convincing when there is a personal touch as well. So,
Before we open up for questions, uh, Irfana, this last bit I want you to kind of come in on. The response to the misinformation, दो चीजें actually. पहली चीज is we assume, and we see this globally, but we also see it for Pakistan, कि वो जो authority और घर का बड़ा वाला जो aspect है, वो हमने political trends के साथ भी देखा है और चीज़ों के साथ वो dilute होना शुरू हुआ है बहुत हद तक. And younger people are making their own decisions and they have their own sources of information. And sometimes those sources of information are very far removed from more official and authentic sources of information. So that has been a challenge. So misinformation, young men are getting inspired by, on lifestyle choices by people who have no business guiding their lifestyle choices without going into examples. So we're seeing a lot of toxic behavior and all of those things kind of manifest there. Especially, we saw very uncomfortable conversations like like 10, 11-year-old girls kind of telling each other, on parental groups, koi misinformation parental WhatsApp group mein gayi, aur wo gharon mein chali gayi, and ye with the HPV vaccine, very, very conversations that you don't want your young daughters to be having. And the thing that I'm pointing towards is that now there are secondary and tertiary information groups and information bubbles that kind of flow through it. Maybe not as much as they inform decision making today, but maybe informing the decision making of tomorrow. How much of that is addressable with like, more aggressive, more proactive communication strategies? And maybe if there is some examples that you could share.
So I think because we were talking about the how to tell the messages, and it's a storytelling. In journalism, we call it storytelling, right? So whenever you have to work on a story, it a lot depends that how you are telling the story. And I think it's the way that when you decide on something to tell the audience or the people, if it's more personal, as Dr. Sava said that when the minister came in the vaccination campaign, then it was like, it was very relevant and personal for everyone. And it actually affect the whole vaccination drive. And same applies on the journalism. Whenever we tell the story, we try to make it more relevant. And as you said that there was a biggest hesitancy because the parents, they don't want to talk to the student, to their daughters that this kind of vaccination is related to their reproduction system, and it's that's kind of talk, it's a very hard to do at our homes. So then the media plays how to play the role that you tell a story in a way that matches your cultural society as well. So how you tell the society to the story. So that's why when even during this time or in the COVID time, how we tell the story, when there was a lot of hesitancy and people were not actually talking about it. So we have actually did the story from inside the ICU. And that was the time when everyone was so scared. And it was a big decision for being a media organization as well, whether we wanted to get our teams in the ICUs. But because of public messages, and this was our responsibility. We did it. We haven't done it only in Pakistan.
Can you please
We-
explain what you mean? So you went and reported from inside ICUs
ICU to
because
tell the
people
story.
didn't believe that COVID was a thing.
Yes.
So you had to go and show that the ICUs were full.
This is what will happen if you will not get the vaccination. So that's how the messages you wanted to convey, or whether it's like the messages that the government has to give, that messages that the media has to give. It all depends that how you convey. Now what we see, misinformation is very easy, right? You just send a message on WhatsApp, and even now in our parents will say, look at, I have seen it on the WhatsApp, because I have received it from your XY aunt or XY uncle. So that's a very easy way to spread. But when you come to counter this information, then you have to build your messages in that way as well.
Yeah.
And in that way, that's so relevant for those people as well. So it's all about the storytelling, the messages, and then how you tell them that this is very important.
May I just add, I think that's a perspective from a journalist and the media and everything. It's something that I want to speak about from the health angle. You know, these questions will arise in the young people.
Yeah.
We should not shut them. You know, we need to give them an answer, because that will arise, and the more we shut them, the more complexity it will create. So I think it's a time that we as policymakers should understand that there is a age group which is known as adolescents. And we really do not have any clinic or any healthcare provider that caters to their needs, you know, their questions and their needs. So we have pediatricians, and then we have OBGYNs. There is nothing in between that caters to their needs, you know. And then there is a generation gap when parents do not want to speak to their, you know, children about that. There is a hesitancy. So where do they go actually? So they would be talking about, like you said, it went into a parent group. But there is a need. They want to speak, they want to learn, and they want to learn something that is right. So where do they go? We need to create platforms, and we really need to meet them where they are, you know, the WhatsApp group, the TikTok, or the groups that they make, and in the local language. And then and then probably ensure more trusted messengers. But at the same time, it's for the policymaker to understand that there is a need, and we need to have adolescent health clinics as well.
I don't want to put you on the spot here, Dr. Amna Khan, but there's a room full of teachers and parents here right now.
Absolutely. The teachers can play a lot of role.
So can I please ask you to categorically tell us what we should be saying or knowing about the HPV vaccine? I mean, there's bits and information there, but and you in this room right now, why is this vaccine being introduced and what does it prevent exactly?
Okay, so HPV vaccine, you know, it is a vaccine that would I think, let me rephrase, a vaccine that ensures the health and the future of the children. You know, it's a vaccine that prevents cancers, many cancers, and it should be given. And these cancers, they are seen in the later ages. That's why it is given at a very early age, before a child is exposed to this vaccine. And then on the side of the safety, it has been implemented now in 150 countries and for the last 20 years. And it has come up with a lot of research, and a lot of studies have been developed. And when you talk about its safety and protection, it protects against the cancer that it is used for. And for the safety purposes, researchers, and in these 150 countries where it has been implemented for 20 years from the same age group, there has been no side effect that has been reported. So its safety margin is very, very effective and efficient. And I think if we are responsible parents, and we want the future of our children to be healthy, we should get them this one vaccine injected instead of having then a treatment which is so very expensive on the pocket, and the chances of survival is so very less.
Thank you so much for saying that. We're going to be quickly coming to the audience with questions. If there are any questions, there are ushers who you can point to, and they will write them down. So please raise your hands if you have questions, and somebody will come and get them from you. Um, Before we, I'll begin. I have some questions here. If we were to ask you, what is the number one thing that we learned from Punjab and Sindh and Islamabad that we want to kind of address when we go into KP with the rollout, and as we go into next year and then next year, because ये permanent है, अभी तो पहला साल हुआ है, but this is going to be inshallah be a thing that's going to be permanent. If we were to kind of address one thing that you would think, what would that be? Would it be a supply side thing or a demand side thing? And what would it be?
I think more than supply or demand, I strongly believe it's just getting the right messaging out there and really building that trust. Especially, I think we all have talked about it multiple times, the example of setting up a person story. But I think it's really important to build the right messaging around why having vaccination is important. Of course, the supply and demand are secondary challenges, which also happen, by the way. So I think as we go more rural, as we go deeper, how are we maintaining cold chain? Are we actually making sure the vaccine, when it reaches the end user, it's, cold chain has not been broken, it's still in the right kind of quality as it arrived. I think those questions are very important as we move. So I think having a really strong logistic team as vaccination penetration gets more and more deeper would be important. But also, how are we making sure a regular parent like me is comfortable in vaccinating their children? And I think one thing that I really strongly feel, we've talked about responsible journalism, covering it through ICUs and all of that, which I was hearing. We also have a very large population base which watches, for example, Pakistani plays. Are we creating these subtle messages in them that you guess why vaccination is important? Because I see now there's a sudden shift in the media, a positive shift, where we are talking about more empowered women, where we are showing women in a more positive light, especially the women who are working. I think following this trend, vaccination is a topic that actually should become a part of the various media outlets as well. I think that's also something which needs to be introduced in subtle messaging that, why vaccination is important, any kind of vaccination for a child, but then why HPV vaccination is important for a younger, adolescent girl, how does it help, her future health and all of that. I think this subtle messaging is really important.
Do you want to come in,
I just
Ifana?
want to add one more point. So, because we have seen that in vaccination, it's mostly the mothers. I mean, at the end, the decision has been taken by father, but the mothers are more close to children, and they are the one who are more in these things. So, being a journalist, this is what I always advocate, that we should have more women in our newsrooms as well. So, because when you have more women in the newsroom, then they know how to tell the other women a story. So that's also a shift. That's in some organization, because I'm within the BBC. I'm advocating, and now in other news organizations as well. You have to have more women in your newsrooms as well. क्योंकि जब आप खवातीन के साथ स्टोरी डिस्कस करते हैं ना, तो उनके पास जो एंगल्स होते हैं वो शायद हमारे मेल कोलीग्स के पास नहीं होते. So that's also correlates the vaccination. Health stories. Whenever you work on a health stories, आपको खवातीन से एक डिफरेंट टाइप्स के एंगल्स आते हैं. सो आई थिंक दैट्स आल्सो अ पार्ट जो हम मीडिया में लेके आ सकते हैं.
आपने जो ये बात की ना, ये I think it also connects with the thing that you both, Dr. Amna Khan, you both said earlier, which is कि कई दफा जब हमारी कम्युनिकेशन होती है ना सरकारी, वो अनाउंसमेंट होती है कि जी वैक्सीन टीका शुरू हो गया है, वो उन लोगों ने नहीं लिखी होती जिनके बच्चों ने वैक्सीनेट होना है या उनके गिर्द के जो उनकी जबान बोलते हैं वो. मगर मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन की जितनी कंटेंट होता है ना, वो लोग बनाते हैं वो सारे उनकी जबान में होती है, वो उनकी सोच से अलाइंड होती है. वो बेशक मेन बुलेवार्ड के ऊपर बैनर की तरह खूबसूरत नहीं होगी, मगर वो उनके दिल को लगती है. एंड once we start having communications and designing communications that is aligned with where the destination is.
Yes.
Because essentially क्या हो गया ना, देखिए, big authority voice in the sky की بالکل ختم ہوتی جا رہی ہے, ڈائلیوٹ ہوتی جا رہی ہے امپورٹنس. ٹھیک ہے, لوگ اپنی کمیونٹیز سے زیادہ سیکھتے ہیں. ایک پیرنٹس واٹس ایپ گروپ از وے مور پاورفل ٹوڈے دین کسی نے ہزاروں لفظوں کی کتاب لکھی ہوئی ہو کسی بھی سبجیکٹ پہ, رائٹ. واٹس ایپ گروپ پہ پیرنٹس کی کمیونٹی واٹس ایپ گروپ پہ جو بات ہو گئی, ٹیچر سے بھی ایکسپیکٹیشن اس سی ہے, ہیلتھ کیئر پرووائڈر کی ایکسپیکٹیشن بھی وہی شیپ کر رہی ہے, سب کچھ کر رہی ہے. سو ہاؤ ڈو یو گیٹ ٹو replicate that? Unless we get to do that, unless we have more community conversations, we are not going to be وہ بڑے بینر بنانے اور ٹی وی پہ اشتہار لگا دینے پہ ہم جتنے بھی پیسے خرچ کر دیں, people are no longer shaping their behaviors around it, especially when it comes to their children. I'd like to thank the panelists. I'd like to thank Dr. Ifat Zafar. Thank you very much for joining us. I know you've been traveling and you had to join us, and we had some connectivity issues, but I'm glad we got to hear from you. I'd like to thank Dr. Amna Khan for making time. I know you've been traveling as well, and you've had to jump from one engagement to the other, but it was great having you, and it really added to the conversation. And Irfana, thank you very much for being a part of this conversation. You've really given us some of these stories, and we'll continue to follow you on Instagram and kind of see how you're continuing to debunk, fake news and misinformation. I'd like to thank everybody. I would say that going forward, Thank you very much for joining us. Going forward, you're going to be, as sessions go on, you're going to start seeing QR codes on the screens. Please use them to give your post-session feedback. This is really important. I thank you all for joining us and being a great audience. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, SAT.